Welcome, fellow historians, to a journey beyond the known chronicles of the Imperium. We often speak of Paul Atreides, the rise of the God Emperor, and the scattering. But what of the ages that came before? What secrets lie buried beneath the sands of Arrakis, lost to time and the shifting dunes? From the ancient wars against the thinking machines to the whispers of the Zensuni wanderers who first sought refuge on this desert planet, a vast, untold history awaits. These are not just stories. They are the foundations upon which the universe of Dune was built. Join me as we excavate the forgotten lore, decipher the cryptic symbols, and piece together the epic sagas that shaped humanity's destiny among the stars. Subscribe and activate the bell so you don't miss our first expedition into the deep past. The spice isn't the only treasure Arrakis holds.
Across the deserts of time, truth is buried beneath the sands. You're watching Third Age Historian, where the forgotten lore of Dune is revealed. In the silent chambers of the Imperial Palace, beneath ceilings of gold and light, there echoed a question that no emperor dared to ask aloud. Who truly rules the universe? The throne of the Corrinos was built upon sand, not the shifting dunes of Arrakis, but the fragile dust of illusion. For 10,000 years, emperors sat upon it, believing themselves gods. But in truth, they were the most carefully caged creatures in history, bound by politics, by prophecy, and by the invisible architecture of fear. Every emperor of House Corrino inherited not just a crown, but a prison, a shining trap forged in the aftermath of humanity's greatest rebellion and sealed by its greatest lie. This is the story of the Emperor's Trap. To the chroniclers of the Imperium, House Corrino stood as the eternal sun around which all other powers revolved. From their ancestral world of Salusa Secundus, they rose from blood and ruin to claim the throne of mankind. They ruled as Padishah emperors, divine monarchs whose words shaped the destinies of billions. Their symbol, the golden lion, declared supremacy. Their armies, the Sardaukar, embodied fear. Their will, it was said, was law. Yet beneath this spectacle of power lay the quiet truth that no emperor could ever speak, that the throne itself was a cage built to preserve order at any cost. To understand how this illusion endured for millennia, how a single house could command the loyalty of a galaxy while never truly holding control, we must journey back to the ashes of the Butlerian Jihad, when humanity first sought to rebuild itself after destroying the machines it had once worshipped. For it was in that moment of fear and faith that the first seeds of the Emperor's Trap were sown. When the thinking machines fell and the Great Revolt ended, the human race stood divided. Civilization had survived, but its soul was fractured. The Jihad had burned away the old world, the age of artificial gods and perfect order. In its place rose a chaos of belief, ambition, and vengeance. Across the stars, noble houses formed to reclaim power. Each world became a fortress of memory and pride. But without a unifying force, mankind risked falling back into war. From this turmoil emerged Ken Butler, a man of calculation rather than charisma. A descendant of the legendary Jihad leaders, he understood what others did not, that people did not crave freedom, but stability. He adopted the name Corrino and declared himself emperor. It was not a coronation born of conquest, but of necessity. The noble houses, exhausted by conflict, accepted his rule under one unspoken condition, that the emperor would preserve balance, not dominance. His power would be absolute in appearance, but limited in practice. This was the original design, the balance of the Imperium. The emperor would sit at its center, surrounded by checks that would ensure no man, no faction, could ever again rule without restraint. The Landsraad represented the nobility, the voice of the great and minor houses. The Spacing Guild held the monopoly on travel through fold space, guided by prescient navigators addicted to spice. The Bene Gesserit moved unseen through politics and faith, shaping the destiny of bloodlines. And the Emperor, radiant and supreme, existed between them all, a symbol of unity, yet a servant to the very structure that elevated him. In this delicate machinery of power, every piece depended on the others. The guild required spice to see. The spice flowed only through Arrakis, guarded by feudal houses. Those houses bowed to the emperor, but the emperor required the guild to move his armies, and the Bene Gesserit to preserve his dynasty. A perfect circle, a prison of balance. Thus was born the emperor's trap, a throne that granted dominion over all, but freedom over nothing. As centuries passed, this invisible design hardened into tradition. The Corrinos became the custodians of stability, keepers of an empire that could neither evolve nor die. They ruled not by force, but by illusion. And like all illusions, it required constant maintenance. Every generation of Corrinos learned the same lesson. Power was not a flame to be wielded, it was an ember to be preserved. Too much ambition could ignite rebellion. Too much leniency could invite chaos. Between these poles, the emperor walked alone. It was a rule of fear, not faith. And yet, it endured for 10,000 years. But beneath this timeless balance, the universe was already shifting. The Bene Gesserit pursued their genetic prophecy, the creation of the Kwisatz Haderach, a being who could see across time itself. The guild deepened its addiction to spice, tightening its stranglehold on all commerce and travel. The great houses schemed endlessly, dreaming of rebellion, each seeking to seize the golden throne. By the time of Shaddam IV, the last great Corrino emperor, the illusion of control had grown dangerously thin. Shaddam inherited a dying balance. He was intelligent, charming, and deeply paranoid, traits befitting a ruler of illusions. He knew that every smile in the Landsraad concealed ambition, every alliance hid betrayal. To preserve his rule, Shaddam relied on the Sardaukar, the death-born soldiers of Salusa Secundus, trained from birth in brutality and obedience. Their reputation alone kept the nobility in line. But even this fear was fading. The noble houses had grown rich, their private armies strong. The guild's navigators refused to move imperial fleets without sufficient bribes. The Bene Gesserit whispered in the courts, shaping the politics of marriage and birthright. The emperor still sat at the center, but the web no longer obeyed him. He began to see threats everywhere. And none loomed larger than House Atreides. Under Duke Leto, the Atreides had become the ideal noble house, honorable, efficient, and beloved. Their soldiers rivaled even the Sardaukar in discipline. Their people loved them, and that, to Shaddam, was unforgivable. For the Corrino dynasty had long understood a terrible truth: love was more dangerous than hate. To preserve his empire, Shaddam conspired with House Harkonnen, the ancient rivals of the Atreides, and the Spacing Guild itself. Together, they crafted a trap worthy of the Imperium's deceit. The Emperor would offer Arrakis, the spice world, to Duke Leto as a gift, a mark of favor. But in truth, it was a death sentence. The Harkonnens would strike once the Atreides had taken control, their betrayal disguised as rebellion. The Sardaukar would intervene, masked as Harkonnen troops. The Duke would die, his house shattered, and the balance would be restored. It was the perfect imperial gambit, the same kind of subtle cruelty that had preserved Corrino rule for millennia. But this time, the trap did not hold. For on Arrakis, the Emperor's scheme collided with forces far beyond his understanding. The desert planet was no mere fief. It was a crucible, a place where history, ecology, and prophecy converged. The Bene Gesserit breeding program had placed a single unpredictable variable into the Corrino plan: Paul Atreides, the son of a Bene Gesserit mother and a noble father. He was not meant to be born as he was, a male in a line of female manipulation. Yet in him, centuries of genetic design met the untamed spirit of the desert. When the Emperor's trap was sprung, Paul did not perish. He transcended. Among the freemen, the desert people whom the Imperium had long dismissed as savages, he found not only refuge, but revelation. He became their messiah, the Mahdi, the one who would lead them to victory. In Shaddam's arrogance, he had unleashed a prophecy long sown by the Bene Gesserit, and in so doing, he brought about his own ruin. The Sardaukar fell before the freemen like sand before a storm. The guild could no longer deny the power of the spice. The Bene Gesserit saw their prophecy twisted beyond recognition. And the Emperor, the golden lion, stood stripped of all illusion. The trap that had held the universe together collapsed. For 10,000 years, the Corrinos had ruled through balance. But balance, once lost, is impossible to restore. In the face of a new god emperor, Shaddam surrendered not just his throne, but his entire dynasty. The Corrinos were cast into exile, their name reduced to a memory. And thus, the ancient question found its answer. No one rules the universe, not truly. The fall of House Corrino is more than a political tragedy. It is the inevitable end of empire itself, the moment when illusion meets truth. In Herbert's world, power is not merely a tool, it is a force of nature as seductive and destructive as the spice that fuels it. The Corrinos believed they had mastered this force. They mistook survival for control and ritual for meaning. For 10,000 years, they kept the Imperium in stasis, an empire without progress, without renewal, built upon the fear of collapse. But what is stability without purpose? What is the power that cannot be used without destroying itself? Herbert's genius lies in revealing that control and dependence are indistinguishable in the long view of history. The Corrinos depended on the guild for travel, the Bene Gesserit for heirs, the houses for armies, and the spice for survival. Every pillar of their rule was also a potential knife. And yet, the greatest trap was internal. Every emperor believed himself exceptional, the one who could break free from the balance and assert true dominance. Fakin believed he could unify humanity. Elrud believed he could outwit the guild. Shaddam believed he could destroy the Atreides. Each failed, not because they lacked strength, but because the system they inherited made true freedom impossible. The emperor's throne was the ultimate illusion. To sit upon it was to believe one ruled, when in fact one merely sustained the machinery of stagnation. Herbert offers no salvation from this cycle. Even Paul, the liberator, becomes ensnared. His rise as Muad'Dib mirrors the Corrinos' ancient path, a ruler bound by faith instead of bureaucracy, by destiny instead of politics. The desert that frees him also consumes him. His jihad spreads like wildfire, consuming billions in the name of liberation. Through him, the trap becomes eternal, the paradox of power repeating through time. In this sense, House Corrino is not merely a dynasty. It is a reflection of humanity's oldest delusion, that control can be permanent and that power can ever be pure. Their story is our story. Empires rise, believing themselves chosen. They rule, believing themselves just, and they fall, believing themselves betrayed. But the truth is simpler. Every empire collapses because it cannot recognize the limits of its own myth. For the Corrinos, that myth was the Golden Throne, the idea that one family could hold the galaxy together through will alone. For humanity, it is the same illusion, repeated endlessly in new forms. Kings, nations, ideologies, and gods. Each begins as faith. Each ends as memory. The Emperor's trap is not a relic of the far future. It is a mirror held up to the eternal present. And so, in the quiet halls of Khitan, the echoes of empire fade. The Lion Throne stands empty, a monument to the arrogance of permanence. The Corrinos believed themselves eternal, the axis upon which history turned. But the desert remembers otherwise. Their dynasty became dust, scattered across the stars, their name whispered only by historians and dreamers. Yet the pattern remains. The machinery of control continues to hum beneath new banners, new empires, new messiahs. The Emperor's trap was never merely political. It was spiritual, the human need to rule, to define, to endure. And in that need lies the seed of every downfall. For in the end, all power returns to the desert, vast, silent, and indifferent. The throne is empty. The myth is complete. And the universe turns once more, awaiting the next prisoner who dares to call himself emperor. Subscribe to uncover more forgotten histories of the Imperium.